June 18th, 2015, Charleston, South Carolina. Chris Singleton, an outfielder for Charleston Southern University, steps onto this baseball field like he has so many times before. But tonight is different.
First of all, I just want to say thanks to everybody that looked out for me, that tried to contact me. Honestly, my baseball family has been amazing. They've reached out to me. Almost every single player that I've ever played with have reached out to me. And that's been really big for helping me get through this.
Just 24 hours earlier, in this church in downtown Charleston, 9 people were shot and killed, victims of a hate crime.
All units responding 110 Calhoun Street.
The active shooter, multiple people down. Give me at least 4 medic units.
The city of Charleston and a nation were listening, and Chris had a message.
I just say love is always stronger than hate. So if we just love the way my mom would, the hate won't be anywhere close to what love is.
That was Chris Singleton's message, and the Holy City responded.
I feel inspired. This showing here should be contagious and infectious across the nation. We're not going to tolerate this kind of violence anymore.
It was amazing. There were so many people coming together, black, white, Mexican, Asian. If he was trying to start a racial war, he didn't accomplish that at all. He just brought us together even more than we were before.
Guys, first and foremost, I want to say what an honor it is to be back. And I love for that video to be played because it brings me back to the reason why I started doing this work. Almost 11 years ago, I lost my mom, who was my hero. She was a track coach. She was our children's church pastor in my church, and she was my biggest fan. And after she was killed, I made a promise. And the promise was, Mom, I don't have some superpower that can bring you back. But what I can try to be is the opposite of the guy that took you away. His mission was division, it was hatred. It was to start a racial war in our country, another civil war. And my mission is the opposite. I want to spread love, unity, everywhere that I go. And so with that being said, I have to ask for a favor. Everybody stand up for me real quick. And the favor is going to be simple. This is a little weird. Everybody say weird. It's a little awkward, but we're going to do it anyway, okay? So the favor that I have to ask you is, because my mission is about love and unity, we're going to put that into action. So give somebody a hug and tell them that you love them. Go. And let me get one too. Somebody, I know you're taking pictures, but I love you. It's beautiful. All right, after we got the hug, after we got the I love you, we can be seated, man. What a beautiful thing. Now, I do this every time I speak, man. Every time I share. When he was introducing, he was like, football teams, basketball teams, companies, doesn't matter where I am. I say, hey, get up, give somebody a hug, tell them that you love them. I write children's books. I used to go around and speak. I'm like, man, my story's too sad to talk to little kids. So I started writing children's books. And so I do it at elementary schools. It's a beautiful thing. The only place that I stopped doing this, where I say, get up, give somebody a hug, and tell them that you love them, is at middle schools, okay? Because middle schoolers are vicious. Seriously, I was at a middle school one time, and I told them all, I said, hey, get up, give somebody a hug, tell them that you love them, because this is my mission. I say, Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris is here to spread the mission of love, of unity. So get up, give somebody a hug, and tell them that you love them. Because I'm in a middle school, everybody stood up, 1,000 middle schoolers. They just looking around. They're like, man, I ain't doing nothing, bro. But it's too cool, right? But there was one student, and this happened, that's why I had to stop doing it at middle schools. There was one student who was going to break the ice for me. And there's always that one person that doesn't care what anybody else thinks. They're going to do what's right. No matter if anybody's watching, they're going to be a good person. And so this one student in front of everybody, what he did was he locked eyes with his crush. Beautiful, right? So he walks over to his crush, 1,000 middle schoolers, and I'm thinking, man, this guy's got so much confidence. I want to be like him when I grow up, right? And he goes over to the girl. He looks at her in front of the whole school. He says, I love you. I'm thinking, man, he's going to get this girl. They're going to hold hands. They're going to be cheering for him, right? But it's a middle school girl, too, now. So check this out. In front of the whole school, she looks at him, and she says, boy, if you don't get out of my face. And I was traumatized. I said, never again at middle schools, right? Vicious. But everywhere else I go, I do it because I'm intentional. I have this mission of love and of unity and spreading that. And you're looking at a guy that said, and I promised this to my family, that I would try to put an end to racism. Now, you got to be very, very optimistic and a very optimistic person if that's your mission. But I don't know if I'll get it done, but I told my mom and my church family I would try. And sometimes, getting a hug from somebody that looks a little different, has a different accent, and hearing I love you, when you talk to them and you learn about them, man, it changes somebody's mind about people that look like you or from where you're from forever. So that's my mission, just spreading this love. Before I go any further, I have to show my home team who is actually here. So I want to thank you guys for allowing my whole family to spend some time at our staycation. This is my home team. I got my high school sweetheart, Mariana, right here. It's beautiful. Been together since we were 15 and 16 years old. I met her at this spot. It's a gourmet spot. Beautiful place, man. It's called Cookout. Y'all know Cookout? After that, man, she was mine forever, okay? We got 3 beautiful kids. My oldest, his name is CJ. Everybody say CJ? CJ's my ball player. He's 8 years old, little shortstop, got some games this weekend. My 4-year-old just started T-ball. His name is Caden. Everybody say Caden? And then my baby girl, I call her my grand finale baby. Because I went to this guy, and he said, Chris, after this, there's no more. I said, all right, my wife is Latina, so hopefully you're right, man. So my baby girl, her name is Carter Ray, but a nickname for my baby girl is Chocolate Chip. Everybody say Chocolate Chip. That's my family, that's my home team. And my wife, she allows me 100 days every single year to be on the road and share this message of love and unity every single year. It used to be 150. We had our 3rd kid. She said, you get 100 now. So I want to celebrate my wife. And by the way, while I'm up here sharing this message and this mission of unity, all I want us to be is united. And this is how I can tell immediately if the audience that I'm speaking to is united. Immediately I can tell is if I do something, and it's called a unity clap. If we do it perfectly, I know we're united, okay? It's very simple. All we do is I count to 3, you clap 2 times together. If you can clap 2 times together right now, I already know we're united, okay? Now, if you don't have rhythm, go ahead and sit this one out. Count to 3, clap 2 times. Unity clap, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we good, baby. I love it. I love it. Now, before I go any further, I want to share something, which is, I call it my life quote. Everybody say life quote. My mother was killed right after she was taken away. I was in college. And about a year and a half later, my dad passed away. And so I was 20 years young. I'm raising my little brother, my little sister. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I started to just research. How do people get through tough things? And I was looking stuff up online, and some of the stuff that I saw, it aggravated me. Because I got my brother who's in middle school, my sister who's in high school, and I made a promise to my mom, I'm going to take care of her, Mom. I know I'm playing baseball, but I'm going to take care of your kids. I got us. And so I would be researching stuff, and one of the quotes that I saw, I hated this quote. It said, sometimes in life, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You ever heard that before? It's a dumb quote, okay? Just keep it real. That's so stupid, right? I hated that, right? I'm looking up more stuff. Another one that got under my skin, it said, sometimes in life, you got to play the hand that you're dealt. You ever heard that one before? That's a great quote if you got a good hand, right? You got a good hand, so you say, hey, man, just play what you got. And so you just say, I'm like, man, I don't like that. I don't have my mom, my dad here. I didn't even know car insurance was mandatory. We talking about BMWs, man. I had a Ford Fusion. Like, I can drive. I don't need car insurance, right? I'm good. And so I didn't like this quote, play the hand that you're dealt. But I saw this quote and it changed my life because finally somebody recognized that 10% of our lives we do not control. And this guy, Chuck Swindoll out of Texas, he says life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So the 10% is the stuff you didn't choose, you can't control, but that 90 is where your life is made. The 90 is where the deal happens. The 10% may be like you were talking about earlier. Somebody's on Facebook just going off. I don't know if we want this data center here, this manufacturing here. I don't know. We're such a small community. We love each other, man. We sing Kumbaya. I don't know if I want them here. They're on Facebook going crazy. Do you control what they say? Absolutely not. Your 90% is saying, hey, man, I want to make sure that they partner. Whoever comes, they partner with our community. They feel loved. They feel like they're a part of our community. People don't feel like they're outsiders. We can do something with that 90%. We may not be able to control the 10, but we can do something with the 90. For me in my life, my dad was my hero. He was my everything. Man, he taught me how to shoot a basketball, throw a baseball. My dad could dunk when he was 40, man. He was like everything to me. But one thing about my father, the reason why he passed away is because all of my life, my dad was a non-functioning alcoholic. And what that means is my dad couldn't just have a casual beer. My dad just couldn't have a casual drink. My dad would have to drink himself under the table every single time he had a sip. And so as a kid, I associated alcohol with the worst thing in the world because my dad would be thrown up in the middle of the night. And so after my mother was killed, in my mind, I thought my dad would be like the knight in shining armor to come back and save our family and stop drinking and put the bottle down. But unfortunately, in that 10%, my dad, my alcoholic father, he got even worse. Drinking over a pint of liquor a day, and you do that for a decade, man, your liver's going to give out sooner or later. And it did. My father passed away. That's my 10%. My 90 is promising my wife, my 3 beautiful kids, my brother and sister who I raised, that Chris Singleton will never be an alcoholic and he will never be an addict. I made that promise because I can't do nothing with that 10. Love my dad to life. But my 90% I can do something with. My 10%, my mom, who was everything to me, and then some, was taken away in cold blood because of a chemical in her skin. The same chemical that makes me the color that I am, that I didn't control, that I didn't choose, is the reason why my mom, my hero, was taken away. Can't change it. What I can do is something with this 90. And that 90% is promising and just teaching and reminding people, because somewhere along the lines, I feel like we forgot that we don't choose our skin color. We don't choose our first language. We don't choose where we're born or who we're born to. So I would never hate you or judge you for those things, and hopefully never hate me or judge me for them just as well, because I didn't choose it, just like you didn't. And that 90%, I want to teach this mission of unity everywhere that I can, whether it's reading to second graders like my little man, my son, who's 8, whether it's going to EY and speaking to one of the big 4 and just sharing this vision of unity and what it looks like around the globe, or whether I'm here having a staycation sharing with you guys today. The first thing that I think when it comes to this mission of unity that I have is that we have to realize that every interaction matters. Now, not everybody's going to be lucky enough to be flying on private jets and meeting different clients like my man Sergio right here. But I feel like everybody will have an opportunity to meet somebody. And they might be from a different place. And you're trying to win over their business for your community, for where you are. And so I want you guys to make sure you understand that every interaction, it matters. And I'm going to share what this looks like practically. And it has to do with my first job. Anybody have a job in high school? Raise your hand if you had a job in high school. What about middle school? Because some people be like, man, Chris, I've been working since I'm 10 years old, man. Middle school job. What about elementary school? Elementary. A couple paper boys out there. Sometimes old people be lying, saying they was working when they was 4 years old. I'm like, dude, stop, right? Man, retired, man, working from 4 years. All right, dude, we get it, right? But I had a job in high school. Now, my job in high school, my mom had a rule. The rule was, Chris, I'll pay for your car. I'll give you a little gas money, right? But I ain't going to be paying for your dates, man. You better get you a job. So I want to take a little, young woman out. Took my wife out, my girlfriend back then, my wife now. So I got to have a job. So my job was at a fantastic place. I don't know if y'all know this place is, but it's called Chuck E. Cheese. So Chuck E. Cheese was my job. Now check out, this is my first interaction before I get to these. First job at Chuck E. Cheese, man. I remember this is when President Obama was elected. Now, I didn't know nothing about politics. All I knew is we had a black president. I'm like, man, I could do anything in the world, baby. This is like black history. I'm like, man, I'm looking at this guy like he's Jackie Robinson, man. I'm like, whoa. I loved it. And I remember I was working at Chuck E. Cheese, and my boss at the time, he made this joke. And his joke was it was really distasteful, man. It was like a joke that was like, man, Like, I didn't know nothing about politics, but the man, he said a joke that just, like, made my stomach turn. And I remember he said this, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I ain't working at Chuck E. Cheese no more, man. Partly because he said that joke. The other part was, like, they started making me get in that Chuck E. suit. And I was like, man, I'm done. My mom was like, you got to put in your 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't want to, 2 weeks? I said, I want to quit. She's like, that's not how you quit, son. Put in your 2 weeks, and then you can be done. So I put in my 2 weeks. 10 years go by, okay? 10 years go by, and I got my wife, my boys at home before my baby girl was here, and my wife goes on vacation. She goes to Switzerland. She goes to Germany with her mom. They're having a grand time. And my wife left me with the kids. The first time I got the kids by myself for a week. By myself. So you know what I was doing, fellas? I was like rationing out the laundry. I was like, man, if I just wear this much clothes every day, it'd be good. We eating out every day because I'm not a good cook. And so we eating out every day. We going to Sky Zone. We going to, all these different trampoline parks. Man, we doing everything. Then my son hits me with, Daddy, let's go to Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like, Chuck E. Cheese? I'm like, man, we go there all the time. He's like, Dad, I've never been to Chuck E. Cheese. I said, what? What do you mean you've never been to? I'm sure you've been at a birthday party or something at Chuck E. Cheese. He said, Dad, no, I've never been to Chuck E. Cheese. Now, I live where I'm from. So the Chuck E. Cheese that's here is the Chuck E. Cheese I worked at. And so he's like, Dad, I've never been there. I'm thinking, man, surely you've been to Chuck E. Cheese. You know what? I'm like, I haven't been back to Chuck E. Cheese since my man made that joke about my hero, first black president. You kidding me? And I realized that, and I'm like, wow. And so I mustered up enough courage. I said, let's go to Chuck E. Cheese, man. I'll take you right now, son. Daddy ain't scared. So we get in the car, we go to Chuck E. Cheese. Of course, we get there. I'm looking around the corners, like checking shit. My man ain't there. I didn't want to make it awkward for him, right? And for me. But the reason why I share that story is because, the guy wasn't there anymore. He wasn't, I guess he moved on or something. But 10 years had gone by, and I hadn't been back to this place because of one interaction that I had. And so when we're trying to win business from people in Europe or whatever it may be, man, one interaction, they can go home and say, you know what? That's not the place for us. One thing you think might be funny, a small joke you make, one interaction can change potentially somebody's life forever, especially if they're bringing in 100 jobs, like my man said not too long ago. So every interaction, it matters. The one that you see on the left is when I was in an airport. I travel a lot for work. Now, when you travel a lot for work, you find out which airlines you want to fly. And I never like to talk bad about airlines too much, right? But I will say something good about the airline Delta. Okay, I've been flying Delta for the last 5 or 6 years, Diamond Medallion, because I love Delta, right? There's one airline I always have trouble with. I ain't going to say their name. I ain't going to put them on blast. All I'm going to say is it starts with A. Okay? Ends with American Airlines, all right? That's all I'm saying. Hope they ain't a sponsor. I'm sorry, right? But I remember I was flying. Now I'm a very, very optimistic person. That's just who I am, man. I've been through a lot, but I feel like God has brought me through a lot, and I'm still standing, and I have joy, and I never thought I would have true joy the way that I have it right now after going through some real trauma. But I have that. And so I'm a very optimistic person. Now, it's very hard to be optimistic when you travel a lot and you got stuff happening with your flights and this, that, and the third, especially in the customer service line for this airline in Charlotte. And so I'm in the customer service line, and all of a sudden I see this guy next to me. And I have this interaction. This young guy, he's 19 years young, who's in the military. He was going to a wedding, and his flight got messed up, and his friends were supposed to pick him up. They stood him up. And so now he's trying to purchase a flight to get where he's supposed to be. And while all this is happening, I feel something in my stomach saying, Chris, you got to pay for this guy's flight. And I don't know what that is in my stomach, but I like to listen to it when I feel it moving around. So I said, I'll pay for your flight. So I paid for this guy's flight. And I said, hey, man, let's take a picture because I'm supposed to speak to a company tomorrow. And just in case I can't get there, I'm going to send him this picture, say I did something good. Hopefully they'll still send me that check I was supposed to get, right? True story. And we took the picture, didn't think nothing of it. About 4 hours go by, and I got this message. It was on Twitter, X now, but Twitter back then, a long message. And one of the messages, man, you're going to have to get the Cliff's Notes for. You ain't reading that whole thing. You probably got one from somebody when you tell them you bring in manufacturing, somebody sends you an email, it's 20 pages long. You're like, I'm not reading this, right? But it was this guy's mom. He said, hey, she's like, hey, Chris, you don't know me, you don't know my son, but you did something for my son today that I will never forget. She said, this is only his second year in the military. I worry so much about my son. And And the fact that you did this for him, you don't know us, but man, this means the world to me, Chris. Chris, I looked up your story, and now I realize, man, he didn't just meet anybody, man. He met a hero. And I said, I'm no hero, believe me. But I said, thank you for that. Now, when she's saying this in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know if she knows or if she's ever been to Charleston, South Carolina. But I bet when she met me or when her son met me, she's probably thinking, you know what, let me see where that place is. Let me see if I want to go visit there because of that interaction that she had. We are marketing for the places that we are. They're going to look at us and realize, hey, man, if I want my place there, if I want my business there, if I want to visit there, they're looking at us as a billboard. So every interaction that we have, it matters. The next one you see on your right is when I got to where I was supposed to get to that next day. Well, I didn't really get there. You know, I was flying that airline, so they got me like 3 hours away, and I just drove, okay? But when I landed, of course, my bags weren't there. And so I'm a young guy. Because I'm a young guy, when I get on stage, I like to dress nice, make it look like I know what I'm talking about, okay? And so you see that I got my church tie-dye shirt on. I look a little crazy, and I'm like, I can't wear this tomorrow. And so I like Googled the place. I'm in Michigan. I Googled this place. I'm like, hey, man, suit places near me. One shop comes up. It says Custom Tailored Suits is what it's called. I'm like, dang it, if you don't even got a name, I don't know if I want to shop there, right? But I said, I got to try it. I got no other option. I get there. The place is booming. Everybody's in there. And I meet this guy who runs it. His name is Hassan. I say, Hassan, man, can you hook me up? I said, I don't know I forgot my measurements. Can you get me right real quick, man? I got 3 hours. He said, oh, Chris, I got you. I'm thinking, ain't no way in the world you got me in 3 hours, man. He said, Chris, come back in 2.5 hours. I'll have your suit ready. If anything I need to take up, I got you. I come back 3 hours later, and my man Hassan, I say, you got me, right? He said, Chris, I got you. Come in the back. He puts this suit on me, man, and you're looking good. And then he hands me a tie. Now he says, Chris, go ahead and tie this tie. Now, when my father passed away, some of the generational wealth that I got from my dad was my dad's ties. It wasn't a bunch of money, but my dad had this extravagant like tie collection. And fellas, you know, if you're lazy like me, you can just loosen that bad boy up and take it off your head and hang it up, right? So my dad had about 70 ties he gave me, and they're already done. What am I getting at? Chris doesn't know how to tie a tie. So I remember Hassan's like, hey, man, he's giving me this tie. The place is boom. Everybody's in there. He's like, hey, go ahead and tie it. Put it on. And I say, hey, Hassan. I'm like whispering, hey, man, I don't know how to tie a tie. And I said, can you tie it for me? Hassan's like, of course I can tie your tie for you, Chris. I'm like, bro, I whisper for a reason, man. And so Hassan's doing his thing. He's putting my tie on. It was amazing. We finished up. I said, Hassan, man, you saved the day. I'm about to go on stage in 30 minutes. Thank you so much. Is there anything I can do for you? This is in 2021. He said, Chris, he said, I want you to tell your whole audience today that Hassan wants there to be peace in the Middle East. I said, man, okay, I could do that for you, Hassan. Now, he's from Lebanon. To be honest, I didn't even know where that was. And I Googled that place, and I'm like, man, maybe one day I might visit Lebanon. I don't know where it's like. I'm like looking up, we got any conflicts going on right now over there? I'm thinking, man, I might have to go visit it. Now, I'm going to stay in a resort for sure. But I'm thinking, I got to go see where my man's from because of that interaction that I had. Interactions that we have with people, every single one of them, they matter. When you have somebody here for a meeting and they're prospecting where they want to be, man, I'm telling you, every interaction, it matters. So treat it with care. This is the message that I try to just relay and teach this message of unity. Now, I want to make sure that we're clear. Unity doesn't mean that we all have to like the same thing and believe the same thing, especially if people are coming from all over the world, right? When we tell them we love cornbread, well, for me, I'm from down south, so we have cornbread, mac and cheese, right? I love oxtail. I mean, whatever the food may be, it's not going to be the same. We like different music, different genres. Like my kids were watching this K-pop Demon Hunters. It's like a show my kids are watching. I didn't even realize K-pop is a genre of music. I'm like, I thought it was a TV cartoon show, right? So we like different things. People like rock and roll music. You like rock and roll music? Raise your hand. Let me see. Like rock and roll music. People like, I like, hip hop and R&B. I love R&B music, man. Anybody like country music? That's a great example. See, I hate country music, right? But I love you, okay? right? And so my mission of unity isn't that we have to believe the same. Is that we have a certain level of respect for everyone, regardless of what our stances may be, what our differences may be. There's a certain level of respect because, there's a story behind every single stance. And this is how practically people that may think a little different, believe a little different, can still live in unity and harmony and have respect when we say there's a story behind every single stance. And this is what it looks like practically. I'm going to share a story before stance, and even if you disagree with the stance, I bet you'll understand because you heard the story. The story is for me, little Chris, 5 years old, I was living in Atlanta. I moved to Charleston Middle School. When I got to middle school, that's when I realized I was pretty good at baseball, okay? 7th grade, I was playing junior varsity for our high school. 8th grade, I was playing varsity for our high school. In the 8th grade, I made a promise like every other athlete does. The promise was, I said, Mom, you just wait, because one day I'm going to take care of you the same way you took care of me, Mama. I said, I got you. I said, every pair of cleats that you bought me, every baseball bat you got for me, Ma, I said, you just wait. I'm going to pay you back for everything. My mother said, Chris, I do this because I love you and I want to invest in your dreams, son. You don't have to do anything for me. She said, Chris, all you got to do is buy me a car. I said, what? She said, yeah, I want that Range Rover. That's what I want. I said, Mama, I got you. And so my story is I got to high school. I'm doing well in high school. I started to get some offers. I started playing at Charleston Southern University, not too far from here. And if you've never been to Charleston Southern, we've got an amazing building called the Singleton Baseball Complex. That's a memorial for my church family. We've got 9 palm trees there. We've got, my mother has her own enrichment center inside the locker room. It's beautiful. And so I'm playing there. Freshman year goes amazing. We beat Clemson for the first time in school history. I mean, I'm having a phenomenal freshman season. The last center fielder before me just got drafted. And so Chris is thinking, man, I got 2 more years, and then it's my time to make my mother's dreams come true. Then my story and my life changed because at 18, when I had a summer league game, I got a call on my cell phone. Now, the summer league is kind of like you're training with wood bats to try to show teams, hey, man, I can play professionally because I can hit with a wood bat. Now we got teams like I played against the Savannah Bananas. You guys know that team? Yeah, I was playing against them before they were as big as they are right now. But I was playing in the wood bat leagues. And that summer I stayed local. And my coach had a game that Wednesday evening, and we played. And I had a call that said my mother's name, but it wasn't my mom when I answered. My story is the lady on the other end was from my church, and she said, Chris, get down to the church because something bad happened. Guys, I rushed as fast as I could down to my church. When I got down there, I realized my life was going to be changed after that evening. My story is that my church, there was an officer doing his job and making sure nobody comes in, nobody leaves the crime scene without checking in with him. And I said, hey, man, you got to let me inside my church because we had Bible study tonight. He said, no, I can't do that. And I said, listen, I understand you're doing your job, but somebody called me from my mother's phone. It's not my mom. Like, you got to let me inside my church, man. He said, no, I can't do it. And I'm scared, I'm nervous. I said, well, what can you do? He said, Chris, I'll show you where you're supposed to be. He walks me about 3 blocks away to the Embassy Suites Hotel, and this is where my life and my story changed. A lady from my church, Miss Felicia, came down and said, Chris, your mom got shot. In my mind, I thought my mom was shot in her hand or her leg or something like that. But my mom is like, a superhuman to me. Like, I never went to sleep after my mom. Like, she was always up at the coffee table reading her Bible when I went to sleep. I never woke up before my mom. She was already up, the coffee table reading her Bible. Like, I didn't think my mom was human some way. I thought there's no way that my mom could be severely hurt in any way. And my story is at 18, after they put me in this big open room like this, conference room at the Embassy Suites, lady came up to me, said she's a coroner. She said, Chris, do me a favor and describe to me what your mother looks like. My story is that night I lost all hope that my mom was okay. Because somebody's telling me to describe her, and I'm thinking, why would I have to describe her after somebody told me she was shot? Like, is it so bad you can't even tell me what she looks like as a person? And I started describing my mom, my hero. I said she's 5'9". I said she's got short, black, curly hair. I'm describing everything about my hero. The lady stops me. Chris, what was she wearing? I said, black suit. Chris, does she have any piercings? I said, yes, ma'am, she's got her ears pierced. Chris, does she have any tattoos? And I stopped because my mom had a rule in our house. My mom was a teacher. She was a track coach, but she was also our children's church pastor. And the rule my mother had was, she said, boy, you better not tell nobody about my tattoos. That was her rule, right? And the ladies asked me, so I said, I got to tell this lady about my mom's tattoo. I said, she's got a big tattoo on her left ankle of an ice cream cone. And I said, across this ice cream cone, you can't miss it. 2 words, it spells out sexy chocolate written across it. I told this lady, man, and she smiled, and we had a moment, man. Since then, I've met this lady, an amazing lady who was there for my mom and my family that evening. But my story is that night she came back and told me that my mom, unfortunately, was gone. My story is I found out that my mom and 8 other people were sitting in Bible study when a guy was there for an hour, and then he stood up and had 8 magazines of bullets, guys. My story is this guy fired over 70 bullets into my church, and over 50 of those bullets entered bodies, and he took 9 lives. And 6 of those shots took my mom's life away forever. And because that's my story, my personal stance is that I don't like guns too much. Right? I don't have one at my home. I don't keep one in my car. I don't feel safe around them because of my story of losing my mom to gun violence. And you see, what's so important is that when I share my story before my stance, even if you disagree with the stance, you can say, I understand, Chris. Even if you think totally different. I was just speaking in West Palm Beach to the sheriff's department down there. Every single officer had a gun on their hip. And they say, Chris, I get it. I understand why you feel differently, man, because they heard my story. Even though they disagree with the stance, they heard the story. And this is so important when we talk about unity and we talk about peace and love and marketing where we're at, man. We might not think like everybody else, and that's okay. When we realize there's a story behind the stance. A friend of mine, man, a teammate of mine, different story, different stance, and we're so close, man. The first wedding I was in was his wedding. The very first wedding I was in. I always say his wedding was all salt. I was the only pepper at the wedding. You get that one? You picked that one up? You got that? Only pepper at the wedding. It was my boy, man. I was groomsman walking out. I mean, phenomenal. We both married at high school sweethearts, right? My wedding, he was at my wedding too. My wedding looked a little different. I always say my wedding looked like heaven. It had like some salt, some pepper, some seasoning salt, some oregano, right? Some thyme, some Tony Chachere's. Well, we had everything at my wedding, right? Beautiful, but my groomsman was all pepper. He was only salt in the groomsman. And I remember, guys, my wife was walking down the aisle, and my wedding was on live TV, by the way. Lifetime came to me and said, Chris, you deserve a dream wedding. They said, Chris, we're going to give you your dream wedding, man. What is that? I said, listen, I'm a guy. I don't know any guy that has a dream wedding. Right? Now that I'm a dad, a dream wedding is free. I know that, right? I don't got no dream wedding. I said, what do you mean dream wedding? They're like, okay, well, Chris, tell us, what is your wife like? I said, you got to ask her. She's like, I want 10,000 roses. Boom, done. She's like, oh, I want a dress that looks like they start designing this dress, this celebrity wedding planner. I never thought I would know a celebrity wedding planner, right? David Tatera is this guy's name. He's like designing my wife's dress and saying, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this, Mariana. I'm like, what in the world, right? They're like, Chris, who do you want to perform? I said, I don't know. He said, well, Chris, who's your mom's favorite singer? I was like, this lady, CeCe Winans. He said, Chris, we're going to get CeCe Winans at your mom's wedding. CeCe Winans came and sung at my wedding, right? He said, Chris, where do you want to have this wedding? I'm like, man, I don't care. He said, what if we build a venue in the middle of center field? You play center field, right? I said, yeah. They built a venue in the middle of center field, this park called Shipyard Park, right? Built a venue in the middle of center field. I'm like, man, okay. I was like, all this is free. They said, everything is free. I was like, man, I do have a dream wedding. Beautiful, man. But the reason why I shared is because my boy, who I'm close to, different story, different stance, my wife's walking down the aisle. I told my friends, I said, listen, I don't want y'all to cry because I don't want to cry on TV. You know, that's what TV wants you to do is cry, right? I said, man, I just want to keep it cool and don't do nothing crazy. When the cameras go off, man, y'all going to have a great time. Like, I'm sure y'all had a great time last night. That's what I heard, right? And so I'm like, when the cameras go off, man, y'all have a blast. But while the cameras are on, man, y'all just keep it cool. My wife's walking down the aisle after commercial break. And when she's walking down the aisle, I look over at my boy. He's crying like a baby. So, of course, when I look at him, I start crying too. Because if I see my boy cry, I'm going to cry. And when I started crying, you know what the cameras did? My man back there, they zoomed in. Got him, right? And I'm like, I got an ugly cry. I got snot halfway down my nose. Like, I don't got one of them cute cries, right? And so this is how close we are. But his story's different because he grew up hunting. I mean, he would go hunting every year. Man, I still haven't been hunting one time. Maybe I'll go like bow hunting. I know you can go bow hunting. But I've never been hunting. Maybe I'll do it with a bow or something. But I don't like guns, so how am I going to go hunting, right? And so my boy, I mean, that's what he grew up on his whole life. Being around guns his whole life. I mean, he still goes hunting. He does, I mean, I know the rules we got in South Carolina. I don't know every state, but I know South Carolina rules, right? I know he's breaking just about all of them with the guns he got, right? And we disagree when it comes to guns. But you know what, guys? I love him and he loves me. I'm still Uncle Chris. We're family. How can we be family if we think different? Because we know there's a story behind everything. There's a story behind every single stance. And when people understand this, this is how unity happens. When there's a certain level of respect for somebody, even if they think different. That's how unity happens. And that's what I want to teach. And I need your help doing it. If I give you anything, I feel like sharing this, the people you work with, your family, when your clients come in, having this perspective of unity, man, it would be amazing for South Carolina. It'd be amazing for your communities when you hear their stories about maybe why they don't want this or don't want that, or maybe why they do. And you can understand, you have perspective and say, okay, if that was the problem that you're thinking about, we've already got the solution, just hear me out. When you hear their stories, that's where solutions happen. And I want to teach this, man. And the way that I teach it is using sports. I'm a big sports guy, man. I was watching World Baseball Classic the other day. I said, dang, man, USA lost. I was cheering for us. It's phenomenal. I love sports. Baseball is my favorite. I love basketball, love football, college football more than the pros, but I love football in general. And so I'm going to share this about how sports has done this in my life, how we can teach unity. Now, I got drafted by the Cubs. Are there any Cubs fans in here? I got 3, okay? I love you guys, right? Three Cubs fans, 3 friends. But I got drafted by the Cubs. I love the Cubs. I also love the Yankees because when my mother was killed, man, the Yankees have a thing called Hope Week. And Hope Week is when they bring up somebody, they say, man, somebody has done amazing work in our country, or maybe it's kids that have beaten cancer or whatever it is. They bring them up to throw the first pitch. Well, the Yankees brought me up for Hope Week twice. I was on Today Show. They said, Chris, we're going to have you hit batting practice, hang out with the Yankees, man. And it was dope. I got to do that. So I love the Yankees, but the Cubs, the only team that paid me, so I got to love the Cubs, right? I love them. They gave me a signing bonus. I took the signing bonus. I took my mother's life insurance. I bought my family our first house. So the Cubs did that for me, and I will always be a Cubs fan, even though I'm only 30, man. 30 is when you're supposed to get your big contract, right? They cut me, okay? That's why I'm here, but I still love them, okay? Still love them. But it's baseball story. I was playing in the minor leagues. You guys know what the minor leagues are, right? You know, in South Carolina, we got like the Spartan Burgers, I think. We got the Greenville Drive. We got the Pelicans, that's Cubs. We got the River Dogs here, right? We got who? Fireflies, Columbia Fireflies, right? So you guys know the minor leagues. We got them here. Now, I played in the minor leagues. A lot different than the major leagues, okay? Biggest difference is money. Major league money is good money. Now, I don't know what y'all are making, but I'm telling you what, major leagues right now, I think the league minimum might be like $780,000, I think, $750,000, $780,000, like league minimum. That's good money to me to play a kid's game, okay? Now, the minor leagues, when I was playing, it was worse than what it is now. Now they give you housing, they give you money when you're not even playing. Boy, when I was playing, you were making $1,500 a month before tax. Forget about that, before tax, right? For 7 months out of the year, and they don't even give you a place to live. So you got guys, four people living in a 1-bedroom house. They're just like, oh man, I got the futon, you got the air mattress. Whoever pays the most gets the 1 bedroom, right? But I was so lucky, my agent, he said, Chris, man, I've been calling around, and because you're a high character guy, I got you a place to stay for free. I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, your next stop is in South Bend, Indiana, man. We got you a place to stay. It's completely free. I'm like, cool, all right, where am I at? He's like, Chris, you at St. Paul's retirement community. I said, what? He said, yeah, man, the average age is 75, 85, man, that's where you're living. I said, listen, man, I ain't about to be living with no 85-year-olds, man. I said, I'm 21. I like to stay up late and listen to music. I like to watch The Office, man. I don't want to keep nobody up, man. He said, Chris, everything is free. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. They're going to make your bed every single morning. Everything is free, man. I said, sign me up. So I got here. Check this out. I got to St. Paul's. Now, I'm going to be honest. First, when I walked into St. Paul's, I was a little nervous. I'm in South Bend, Indiana. I didn't even know where South Bend, Indiana was, man. I just knew they said Notre Dame. I'm like, okay, it can't be too bad, right? And so I got to South Bend, Indiana, man. I loved it. But I walked into St. Paul's. I was nervous because not a soul looked like me at St. Paul's, right? It was snowing on the outside. It was snowing on the inside, too, okay? On the inside, too, boy. And I walked in, but they loved me. They had a poster. The poster said, welcome, Chris Singleton. We love you, grandson. I said, what? They said, we love you, grandson. I said, you know what, man? I love y'all, too. And we had, like, this bond. And, I mean, they was inviting me to stuff. And I learned something there. I thought this was a stereotype, about the bingo. Man, bingo was dead serious in there, right? They didn't even let me play. That's how serious it was. Like, real talk, man. I also learned, man, they had this thing. I don't know if y'all know this, but retirement communities, man, they got no filter up in there, man. I mean, they just lost their wife 2 years ago. They already hooking up with somebody else in the thing. I'm like, what's going on? But I'm learning this while I'm living there, and I finally told them, I said, hey, man, I got this mission of unity. Can y'all help me? They're like, Chris, I got you. I said, I want to learn about maybe your life, man. When did you start thinking a little differently about people around the world? Maybe about people in your communities. Like, I'm asking some heavy-hitting stuff. I'm like, man, when were schools integrated for you? They're like, man, Chris, I'm older than that. I said, what? They said, yeah, man, we didn't have no integration in my school. I said, what? I guess I'm just naive because I'm thinking that was like forever ago. That wasn't. And they teaching me this, and I'm like, man, okay, cool. So when did you start thinking differently? And I mean, it was beautiful stories. And, also, I realized, like I told you, they ain't got no filter. Sometimes they were saying stuff. I'm like, you can't say that, right? No, you can't. I mean, I love you, but listen, we can't say that. But they're teaching them. We're learning. It's beautiful. There's people like this guy in the wheelchair who's amazing, man. He would actually come to my room every night after the game. He tried to drink scotch with me every night, right? And he would try to tell me how to do my job as a professional athlete, okay? Every single night. I'm like, dude, if it's so easy, why didn't you play, right? I'm always telling him. But he was beautiful. Then there's one interview I did. It changed everything, and I want to share it with you all today. The lady's name was Esther. Everybody say Esther. Esther was her name, and she said, Chris, because we're family, I don't want you to call me Esther. She said, because we're family, I want you to call me what my grandkids call me, which is Grandma E. Everybody say Grandma E. So she became Grandma E to me. So Grandma E and I are talking back and forth. In the middle of the interview, she stops me. And I thought she was getting uncomfortable because I was asking some real deal stuff. But she wasn't. She said, Chris, before we go any further, let me show you my great-grandbabies. I said, yes, ma'am. Go ahead and show them to me. And I thought, she was older. I thought because she was old, she was going to pull out a wallet or like a Polaroid picture or something. Because, old people got pictures in their wallet, just so you know. Some of y'all are like, man, I'm going to take this out tonight, right? It means you're old if you got pictures in your wallet. And I'm asking her, and she's like, no, this pulls out a brand new iPhone. And she's like, these are my great-grandbabies. She said, they're twins, Chris. 8-year-old little girls, but one of them was black, one of them was white. She said, Chris, they're twins. I said, no, they're not. Ain't no way, right? And she's like, no, Chris, they are. Let me tell you how they became twins. I said, okay, go ahead and tell me. And she starts going through this elaborate story. Grandson was supposed to have twins. Unfortunately, Chris, one little baby girl passed away at birth. We adopted this black baby girl, raised them up. They're 8 years old now, Chris. They're princesses. They're twins. I said, oh, man, that's beautiful. But I was like, man, that sounds like that TV show called This Is Us. I was like, it's the same storyline as This Is Us. And I thought she was getting old because, when you get old, you just start lying, right? Right? Be honest. And so in my mind, I was like, man, are you sure this is your real family? And she's like, Chris, this is my real family. She started showing me more pictures. I was like, thank you, Lord. Okay, she good. And then when she stopped me, Chris, let me tell you what they call themselves. I said, what do they call themselves, Grandma E? This is what she told me. She said, chocolate and vanilla ice cream. I said, oh, that's cute. I get it, right? Chocolate and vanilla. So, I'd be the chocolate, you'd be the vanilla, right? You got some butter pecan up in here a little bit, right? A little caramel around here. I see you, right? Or white chocolate. I don't know how you get down. Right? don't know how you roll, man. Right? And so I was like, I get it. It makes sense, right? It makes sense. Why, chocolate. I'm like, but that is a little weird. I said, why? Why are they doing that? And this is the lesson. She said, Chris, well, I taught them that. I'm like, why in the world would you teach them to call themselves chocolate and vanilla ice cream? And this is the lesson. She said, Chris, I taught them that because I want them to know that even though they're different on the outside, she said, Chris, on the inside, we're counseled just as sweet. And she told me this. I'm like, man, what a beautiful thing to teach your great-grandbabies. Man, I thought, man, what if the guy that took my mom away would have had a grandma like this lady? I said, man, what if he would have had like a boss or like a coworker or somebody that can remind this guy, hey, man, I didn't choose my skin color. I didn't choose my first language. I didn't choose where I was born, man. The same way that somebody's coming from another country to hopefully invest in your community. They didn't choose where they were born either. And so judging somebody and feeling a certain way about somebody based on something they didn't choose is not the world that we should live in. Now, if they choose to make bad decisions, that's totally different. But for me in my life, I said, man, if that would have been the case, if Grandma E would have been teaching my mother's killer, then my mom would be here. She'd be here to see my little man CJ play ball and see my man Caden, who's starting T-ball tomorrow. If only somebody was teaching like Grandma E. And so my ask of you all is that you remember, man, we don't choose at 10. We can do something great with our 90. But also teach love like this woman, Grandma E. Because in doing so, you'll help me in this mission of love and unity. Last thing I'll share is a quote from Jackie Robinson. Raise your hand if you know who Jackie Robinson is. Make sure I'm in the right room. I have to run up out of here, Warren, if they didn't know who Jackie Robinson was, right? I'm out, right? Jackie Robinson, and I love this quote from Jackie Robinson. The reason why I share it is because I have another hero. You may not know who he is, but I share about him every time I speak because he's an unsung hero. And there's so many unsung heroes that help get deals done that maybe you know, like, man, if it wasn't for this one person, they would have never came to our community. If it wasn't for this person that was just nice at our front desk, they wouldn't, like, there's always that unsung hero that helps and creates things happening. But my unsung hero, his name was Tawanza Sanders. He was 26 the day that he went to Bible study with his mother, Miss Felicia, who was the one that called me from my mom's phone. But at 26, he went to Bible study, and a real human being by the name of Dylan Roof, who wasn't raised by one of us to teach love and love people regardless of what makes us different. He walked into my church and sat down for that hour. After he stood up and he started firing bullets, my hero, my unsung hero, Tawanza, had been shot. But you know what my hero does? In real life, after being shot, he stands up and he starts pleading with the killer, and he says to this guy, he says, hey, man, he said, you don't have to do this right now. He said, we mean you no harm, like we mean you no harm, you don't have to do it. But the man that wasn't taught by one of us to teach love, he said, yeah, I do have to do it. He took Tawanza's life. Reason why I call Tawanza my hero is because when he stood up after being shot, he had his mom, Miss Felicia, who was hiding under a table. And Miss Felicia is the one that called me from my mother's phone, like I said. And she's living today in my mind because of her son being a hero, saying, maybe I can't do nothing else for myself, but maybe I can save my mama. And that's exactly what he did. Tawanza not only saved his mom, but he had a little cousin who was hiding under a table who's living today. Because Tawanza said, maybe I can't save my life, but maybe I can save another. He posted this quote from Jackie Robinson the same day he was killed. The quote is, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Again, a life is not important except in the impact that it has on other lives. So maybe today you said, man, Chris, I've been working and doing this for 20 years. Or maybe you, one of the people that was lying, saying you've been working for 70. Whatever it may be, your life right now, the decisions you make right now for your community will have an impact on so many generations to come. So hopefully today I've made an impact on your life by sharing my heart and my mission. You go out, you love, you teach like Grandma E. You make this world a better place. I know for a fact you'll help me make my mom proud. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you.